welcome to SABIFF 2025. We are excited to just have a year of action vision, and that's a combination of action mixed with vision, equal coming to activism in film and how film can be used as a medium for justice and social change. And this film is really one of those films that hits home because it is a true film that has truly been experienced. I don't know if you all remember in the news in '85, but I remember I was off at college at Howard, and it was traumatic just to hear. So we are honored to bring to the stage Mike and Michael Davis and Debbie. I say Mike and Debbie Africa, Mike and Debbie. So we are honored. Unmute yourself, Debbie. Y'all are muted. For you all to join us. By Your Side was a film that played at SABIFF. I want to say 2022. I don't have it, but I want to play that you all entered in 2022. And we always like to bring back films from the festival that probably didn't get the audience that it needed and go back and re-show it and showcase it for you all. So thank you for watching. Thank you all for joining us. We are so pleased to have you. So welcome. Let me see if I hear you. Are you? Can we hear your voices so I can make sure I hear you?
We're here.
Okay. Good. Okay, we had audio issues, y'all, before. So Mike and Debbie are political activists, former political prisoners, as well as film directors and producers now, and both childhood sweethearts caring for animals. Went from that to picket signs, beatings, arrests, and 40 years separated by prison sentences. So you all, I didn't realize at the time because I would have done it last year, but last year was the 40th anniversary of the MOVE incident. And I want to just kind of take those back, because so many people are disconnected with this incident. There's a lot of kids now who are in their 20s who weren't even born at the time. So I just want to, can you all take us back to tell us what the MOVE incident was in its place in our history?
Well, let me see. Now, the 40th, the incident from MOVE was 1978. So 2018 would have been the 40th year for that in 2018. So it was just, it was a culmination of what started as you said in the introduction, as picket signs demonstrating against societal ills that were happening around our community, different things with animals and just police brutality. Mostly police brutality is what we focused on. And that started a series of demonstrations against the Philadelphia Police Department, who the mayor, Frank Rizzo, was at the time. And it just culminated from the police demonstrations to beatings on us, on MOVE people. And it went from that to jail terms, short, then long, then longer. And it just culminated into 1978, which was a standoff. And eventually, unfortunately, a police officer was killed during the raid against MOVE in 1978. And that culminated into a jail term for 30 to 100 years, which we all got, including seven other MOVE members got. Mm-hmm.
So you all joined in '74, though. So I think it's your 40th anniversary of being in the MOVE, okay? Which was light demonstrations against the city of Philadelphia. I mean, that's when y'all came in. So what can we just talk about how you? I mean, what attracted you to MOVE? How you got started from? Was it from high school? Were you all out of high school for a while and then you moved? I mean, how did you all get introduced? And your decision to become involved with MOVE?
Well, we got introduced because we lived right around the corner from each other. That's how we were introduced. And the things that were going on in society are the things that are going on in society now with the mass incarceration, police brutality. It never ended since they landed us on these shores. So our interest in demonstrating against these things happened because it began to get close to home. Some of our friends were accosted by police and arrested, and under Rizzo regime is always brutally. And we're talking about our friends at the time who were 13 or 14 years old. The thing with the Panthers that was going on in North Philadelphia, a short distance from where we lived at and grew up at, where they were stripping them naked in the streets and, brutalizing them. And, we heard these things. We tried to avoid them, I guess, by just, everyday life with playing games and all this, but, these things traumatizes everyone who witnesses them. And when it became, when it got closer to home and they started brutalizing our friends, when, just picking them up and taking them to police stations and beating them up. By this time, we had a few years later, and Move had introduced themselves to us, and so we got involved. And getting involved in something like that is puts targets on you. We were targeted.
Mm-hmm. Let's go back. Let's reflect back when you had fond memories of growing up in Philadelphia. So you all, I thought it was, so you all were West Philadelphia, and you said Black Panthers were North Philadelphia. So
they were all over, but they had headquarters in North Philadelphia.
In North. So there were sectors of Philly growing up. I guess that you became involved in. Not you, but just people became involved in based upon where they lived, in terms of what they joined, how they interact. So just what are your reflections growing up? Just being as a kid growing up, was it all before Rizzo? What was your reflections just growing up in Philly? When you were young?
It was, like most neighborhoods, like, you just have block games and attractions to, the area, to the sports, to the climate of the city or the various neighborhoods you come from. And but I think most of them are pretty similar. We just had street games and street parties and a bunch of fun. Hot, cold, butter beans, tag, hide and seek.
Games that probably be
hot cold butter beans. What's that? I don't know. I know that hot cold butter beans. What's that?
I was going to say these are probably games and stuff that today's people don't even know anything about. Yeah. And hot cold butter bean is about. Well, it's fun. It was fun to us, but when you look at it now, it may not sound so much fun. But it was when you hide a belt in the playground or somewhere. And a group of kids would go try to find it. Whoever found the belt first, they would come out and start chasing people, hitting them with the belt. And like, hot, cold butterbean, come and get your supper. And is that how it went? And then something like that. You put your face up a tree or something, say, it's a hot, cold butterbean. 1, 2, 3. Everybody go hide. And then when you get the belt, you start, trying to find somebody. And
chase the person.
But it was a song, a rhythm, like hot, cold butterbean, come and get your supper. And then everybody would come.
Dead block. King ball.
Cool.
There was a bunch of, bunch of little games.
I mean, it was fun. We went to parties. We went to,
that sounds cute. So how did you two meet? I mean, you said you lived around the corner, around the block, but how did you actually meet?
Through a game.
Yeah. Well, actually,
hot, cold butterbean?
No. King ball.
King ball. But Debbie had actually lived right around the corner. When I say right around the corner, I'm literally right around the corner. And she had been there, her and her family had been there for 5 years before I seen anybody from her family.
Wow.
And you're talking about feet away. You have similar stores, everybody had corner stores, and we used the same corner store. I've never seen any of them.
Is it 5 years?
For 5 years. You was there for 5 years. Because I was on that block since birth. But Debbie moved around there maybe 11 years later or 10 years later.
So you saw her, your eyes locked. I mean,
that was it. Seriously, that was it. Me and Jimmy, my brother, walked around the corner, and they had things called play blocks, where the city during the summertime would come around certain neighborhoods and set up a portable play block. And they had a van full of games and, you know, portable basketball courts and serve lunches during the summer. You know, so Debbie's block was targeted, and my brother and I were walking around the corner, and we hardly ever walked up this street. And so anyway, we walked up the street that day because of the play block. And as we got closer to the end of the block, I saw Debbie, her sister, and some friends playing king ball. And when I saw Debbie, you know, who is that? You know, we walk up the street. So a couple other friends that we knew, I asked them and inquired, you know, so we got into this game, not necessarily because of the game, but because we were interested in the girls. And I saw Deb, and that was history for us. I mean, that was
Debbie. Debbie. That's his story. What's your story?
It was pretty much the same, except that I didn't know why they really got into the game, and so we were playing a nice friendly game. And king ball is you have 4 blocks, right? King, and you have a ball, and everybody, you just kind of bounce the ball in each other's block, and whoever misses it, then you know they're out. So we played this game of friendly. But when they came in, they asked to be in the game, and we said we said no, because we didn't know them, and they walked up the street all aggressive and stuff, and just strolled up the street. So, and I'm like, no, they're not playing. So they said, come on, can we play? So we let them in the game. And of course, we knew. They start slamming the ball, getting us out, laughing at us, and I was totally mad and totally pissed, and we was all mad. We like, you ain't getting in our game no more. It was about 14, I think. Ain't getting our game no more. Anyway, so it was hate for me at first.
That's funny.
But as you can see, yeah, that didn't last.
Oh, so this was what, you were teenagers then or younger?
Teenagers.
Teenagers.
So young teenagers, 13, 14.
Yeah. So if you were teenagers, you went to the same school?
No.
We went to the same high school.
Yeah.
Later.
Oh.
That's probably one of the reasons why we never knew each other too, because we were right in the middle of him having to go to the school on his side, because they had started to separate the schools, and me going to the school on my side. So we were in the middle of that. So I went,
even though it was 38th Street, she's 39th Street.
Yeah, it was a split, a divide right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you got together in high school?
No, we got together then.
We got together then.
Oh, in junior high.
Junior high, yeah.
Oh my God, you all go back. I thought it was high school.
Well, we got together, and then we weren't together because it was over the summer, and then we weren't together for 2 years, and then we got back together at like 16.
Oh wow!
So consistently since 16.
Wow, you all need a banner. I mean, a medal here. Just to be together so long. Okay, so did you have any high school or whatever? Were there any aspirations of what you wanted to do, what you wanted to be, in life at that time when you were in high school?
Oh, I
any
definitely
role models that you followed that inspired you.
Oh yeah, I definitely wanted to be an accountant, because I love working with money, and I liked. I was a pretty good organizer and multitasker. So I went to clerical. When I was in school, I had clerical. A vocational, not vocational, but a commercial course, and that's what I just try to, but. It, of course, once we moved, that all kind of went to the wayside. But that's what I did want to be, some kind of business management.
What about you, Mike?
For me, I don't know. Most of the people in my neighborhood, there were a few that went to college. Most just came out and tried to get a good job. So I was sort of following that route, and I had three other older brothers. I'm the youngest in my family, so I had three older brothers who were in the military, and I wind up joining the military. While I was in the military, a couple of incidents happened with MOVE, and Debbie explained that later. You know, some of her family members were in MOVE. So while on leave, an incident happened. I participated in a demonstration along with them and got arrested. And well, that kind of accelerated my participation somewhat. And then I was doing more MOVE demonstrating than I was going back, reporting back to base.
Okay.
You know, so,
What about
so my aspirations.
You want to be a musician too?
Yeah.
Say that again, because your voice went out when you said that. Say that again. You wanted to be what?
Oh, Debbie said I wanted to be a musician. A musician.
It's never too late, Mr. Musician.
Yeah.
It's never too late. I'm telling you. So, what was the feeling of your parents at that time? I don't know if anybody ever addressed that with you, but you know, parents are always worried, and you're the baby, you're the family. Your brothers went on to the military. I mean, what was the feeling of the sense of your parents when you all joined MOVE, and how did you all cope with that as a family? Just curious.
It wasn't good because, you know, any opposition to police, you know, again, as is now, you know, is wrought with
Black Panthers too, and everybody else. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's going to, you know, I'm sure for a parent it's going to be terrifying, horrifying, and it was for them. I'm sure it was, you know, and I didn't give that enough credence, I don't think, of the kind of situation I had put them in, you know, with, you know, worrying about a child going up against Frank Rizzo in the city of Philadelphia, in a city like Philadelphia, which is like, you know, most urban cities.
Yeah. I mean, they were police mafia, really. It sounded like he was police mafia. That's what it sounded like, just reading on him, researching him. It's crazy.
Yeah. But it was also, you know, it's that you can let people know how you feel. And you can demonstrate your feelings in such a way that don't cause horror for everybody that's attached to you. So that wasn't always given the attention that it should. In retrospect,
that's also part of youth. That's also part of being young, being fearless, being daring. I mean, that's just part of the territory of being young. So
yeah, because being young like that, you just sometimes you do. But my family, because my family was the one that actually, my uncle was the one that actually started MOVE, and at the time, as Mike said, the culmination between what was going on in our neighborhood and my uncle actually starting the organization MOVE kind of came together almost like at that time. So my mother and my family, we were all in MOVE actually. But later on, though, as Mike said, still, even with that, they were scared. They were terrified. They were scared to death. My mother was the same way. She was like, no, she didn't want any confrontations or they tried to talk us out of getting out of MOVE. And, you know, and as you said, you know, being young, you kind of sound kind of like you're influenced by your influence. And so by the time, I mean, we were in MOVE, 74, 4 years before August 8th, 1978 happened, and we got put in jail for 40 years. So but yeah, our parents and people that around, you know, they were very, very, very afraid and frightened of what could happen, which exactly is what did happen.
Let's talk about the film, and then we're going to go back to some of the movies. But let's talk about the film. How did this film come about for you all? I know about Scribe Video, but you can tell our viewers about it and how you all became involved with Scribe Video to make this project. Let's hear.
Well, yeah. Well, after we were released from prison, Debbie was the first to be released of the Move 9. The 9 Move prisoners who had been given 30 to 100 years in prison.
And that was in 2018.
Right. We were released through the actions of many people, no more prominent than our son, Mike Africa Jr., and a lot of other people. There was a lot of people that helped. But anyway, we were released in 2018. Debbie was the first to be released, and I was the second. And after our release, we were invited to speak or attend several functions, and one of them was Church of the Overcomer here in Chester, PA. And at that gathering, we met a sister named Jennifer Bennett. And after the talk, Jennifer suggested that y'all need to really make a film about your experiences. And she mentioned Scribe Video Center, which we had never heard of, and she took us down there. She hooked up a meet with Louis Messiah and took us down there. And at that meeting, Louis Messiah graciously offered a chance to learn and record, because he's very big as he was then, he continues today, that people record their own history. And he offered us a 14-week class in order to learn how to do just that, which we accepted. And the film By Your Side is a product of that. We didn't know at the time that we would have to make a film at the end of the 14 weeks, but that's what came of it. And that's why. And that's how it came.
I was thinking that process, was it therapeutic for you all?
It was.
I mean, just going through that process of recamping, of telling your story. I mean, I know it was emotional to recall things, but was it therapeutic? Was it healing?
It was at times cathartic. Sometimes therapeutic, sometimes traumatizing because of, the issues that's being discussed. And, you can't discuss these feelings without feeling these things, So it's like reminding you, we say 40 years, in prison. We kind of gloss over it. And I don't know how people take that, but 40 years of prison, even for anybody, is, very traumatic experience, right? To say the least. But then when we talk about our experiences on the streets of Philadelphia, when you go to jail because of what you've done on the streets of Philadelphia, then your reputation precedes you, and Moves certainly did. So they're waiting for you also. So we were having to battle most of the time that we were there. So, we're bringing up experiences that, and I'm not saying it's even any easier for a regular or an ordinary person going there with no drama attached to them, because prison is a traumatizing, inducing place, for anyone and everyone. So, but then when you have someone who's always nipping at your heels about something, you're fighting the whole time you're there. And that's how it was. So, we're not glossing over 40 years. And to stop for a second and detail some of the experiences, brings about all kind of emotions. And so
that was one of the things to also that was traumatizing about making this short film. And the biggest thing was just reliving. You know, I mean, I had a 2-year-old baby at the time. You know, I was pregnant, 8 months pregnant at the time. And so experiencing, we did. So just experiencing, I mean, your baby being taken away from you, and just you having a baby in prison and in jail. And so reliving those moments and seeing it, was just definitely really, really, really. And then watching your children are responding and reacting to seeing it, or not wanting to see it, with so that was part of it. But some of it was what did you say? Cathartic.
Yeah.
I think it was that cathartic for me.
I said at times. At times. But also, you glossing over the fact that when you said we had a 2-year-old child at the time of that arrest and that confrontation, but Debbie was also 8 months pregnant at the time. So then a month after we were arrested, she gave birth to our second child, which is Mike Africa Jr.
In a jail cell.
Yeah, in a jail cell with no assistance, So
Debbie, I would have just crawled in a ball and just been incapacitated. I don't know how. You probably don't even know how you move forward. That is just devastating.
Yeah. That we need to have that yell and warrior princess.
I just don't know.
When I think back on it, it's but at the time I was just determined to do what I felt like was the right thing to do, which was to push forward and keep going. And thinking that you're going to get out of prison, thinking that you're going to get out of that situation too. Longer than, I mean.
Well, you had to have faith in order to continue. You had to have faith.
Yeah, that much earlier than I did, and especially since there was no evidence. Like it was, that was really hard, because even still till this day, that's what makes me angry, because although we, we did hold these demonstrations, it's like, no, we're not guilty of killing nobody though. And so that really makes me angry. I just looked at our papers that we're going to file. And it talks about me in particular. There is absolutely no evidence that should have kept me in prison that long. None, except that I was there. Okay. So they're going to strap me with, I was there. And at the time I was living there. So the cops coming out to my place of living, and then all of this turmoil and things happen, no cops testified that I had a weapon, that I shot anybody, that they saw me doing anything. So for me being in jail that long, having 2 young babies, where is the justice system? Where is it at to say, okay, you know what, at least this person, and there were other women up there too that had babies too, that they have really no evidence on to convict us of being in prison that long like that, despite everything else. But these are just like tidbits that we can take from this to say, where is the justice system, period? Where is it? Because there is no justice in that. And when you're thinking about these children, you're not just talking about us as parents. You're talking about these children who lost their parents all their lives, who are who can't understand it, And so, where is it for these children? Where is it? It's just no feeling.
It does amaze me that the full term persisted, because I know that there are presidential pardons every freaking term, because I know of a sister that got a presidential pardon from Clinton or whatever. But was there other than your son, who had to grow into it, because he had to grow into it to be an advocate for you all, to try to get you exonerated? But other than your son and your family, was there anybody that was advocating for you on the outside to decrease the sentence, to revisit the trial, to Because I know that there's that justice organization now that goes back and looks at cases and make sure that people get freed. Was there nobody on the outside that you know of that was advocating for you to that degree to try to get your sentence reduced or try to get you freed? I mean, it's amazing. It is mind-boggling.
There were many people who tried to support us from where they could, when they could, for decades. Many people. So I don't want to exclude anyone, because we had a lot of support, and there are people who gave their lives. And
you okay?
Yeah. So, I don't want to minimize any of their efforts,
right?
Because it cost them a lot and a lot of years of their lives to do things, try to stay in that fight, because they made a lot of times they made the fight seem really, really futile. Like they were just wasting their time, and that we were just going to be destined, as some of us did, die in prison.
Yeah.
That was the end game for us too. And some people on the outside died in their support. So I don't want to minimize the efforts of the people who continually, consistently let us know that we were being supported.
And that includes,
you would love to being supported.
I'm sorry. And that includes a lot of our relatives.
Yeah. And I look at it because we didn't have the internet back then. We didn't have this get minute, get news in a second, and get people to sign petitions in a second and get 1 billion signatures. We didn't have that. And so I look at even when I heard about the George Floyd incident, I kept hearing on that on the internet, and it was just traveling, being shared. So it makes a difference in terms of getting the messages out and getting the support that you need to the higher ups. So that was one of the things that changed over time, as you can see, getting out, because the internet wasn't even around when you went in, So there are pros and cons, but I think that's a pro to a large extent, in getting people engaged with what's happening. And I look at H. Rap Brown, his former slave name, and he's a minister now in Atlanta. Same situation. Got arrested for accused of killing a cop, serving time. He's in his 80s. Didn't do it. They found the killer, the admitted killer, and this man's still serving time in jail in his 80s. Wow. For his involvement in the Black Panthers. It's insane. It's insane. But that anger, that justified anger, and just the trauma that you all have gone through, how have you all gotten any counseling, any therapy? How has your healing process been evolved since 2018 and beyond? I mean, now to today.
Well, actually, coming still from the last question you asked us about getting into scribe videos, and it was some form of counseling for us too, actually, because the people down there, Louis Messiah, Dan, and all the people who worked there, Charlie, and who was a Sosena, and what was it, Ada? They were all so, I think it was, anyway, they were all so good, so gracious. They worked with us, because let me tell you, talk about teaching us things about technology. When we went in prison, they had the rotary phones. All right. So we didn't, like you said, we didn't have internet. So just having to learn, and I don't even know that we really learned a lot, but teaching us how to do it in 14 weeks. I asked Sosena, I said, so we expected to have a film at the end of 14 weeks? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, wow, really? So they just dug in and they just hung in there and they just did the work, showed us how to do it. They did a lot of that work. And
our classmates too.
And yeah, oh yeah, and our classmates, yeah.
Oh,
so that in itself was very, very rewarding, and it did made us feel good. It just made us feel like, okay, this really feels good. So it also helps in the healing process, because you know that I mean, everything that we've gone through, you know, it helped in the healing process. But we haven't been offered no support and therapeutic counseling from the city, from any officials. We've only had volunteer therapeutical support from the people who supported us, Pastor Crystal Lucky and Sandra Joy, Professor Sandra Joy, and from Professor Pauline Thompson and Church of the Overcomer, the pastors there, Carol and Keith Collins, and just mingling with our friends. So those are the people that actually like come and offered us support, offered it to us, and we took it. So that's the only support that we've been offered. And we did take one community, Delaware County support group that we entered in on our own when we first got out.
But as they mentioned at Scribe, Louis Messiah, telling your own story is mighty, man. It's, especially after decades of hearing someone else try to put forth your narrative, and butchering it and chopping it up and telling, giving credence to your enemies, for lack of a better word, having someone tell from a completely different view. But knowing the issues, knowing the truth, knowing what happened, it gives a powerful puts you in a powerful position to just write your own narrative, and knowing your narrative is the truth rather than some hearsay or something.
Yeah, there's an African saying, until the story of the hunter, the story of the lion will always be told by the hunter until the lion tells its own story or something like that. But that is so true. You have to tell your own story. I mean, I'm waiting for the feature-length film, because your story is a feature-length film beyond a documentary, which is needed. It is definitely a feature-length film. So the former police chief and Mayor Rizzo, you knew who he was. He was doing white identity politics. He ignored civil rights, racial equality, all of that. But when there was the first Black mayor hired in Philly, Wilson Good, in 1983, who ordered the bombings to destroy move headquarters, how did that hit you all?
Well, being in any kind of movement in America, you're not going to be that enthusiastic when you see, just because you see someone of color in a uniform. You know where you are. You know what this is. This is Philadelphia police. This is Chicago police. This is, whatever. You're not going to be, just because you see somebody of color in a uniform, that you're going to be enthused that they're going to do anything different than the other folks have done.
Establishment. Look them as establishment.
Is, so, and I'm not saying that, you have surprises. You have surprises, for lack of a better word, when you see other folks show compassion. Because we've been in prisons where it was in rural districts, and some of the people that came to the aid or challenged what was being done to you look like other folks. you know. So, you know, you come to expect what you get, you know. And if you cultivate, sometimes you cultivate your own help, you know, and sometimes the truth forces folks to come to your aid, you know, and that's happened many times, you know. So, you know, back to your question, just seeing someone saying that he's black and he's in, you know, he's the head of the city now,
Right.
you know, that don't give you pause.
I saw that for the 40th anniversary, he said that they should offer an apology to the move and all of that, but not that it means a damn thing to you all. Has the city issued anything to you all financially, mental? I mean, anything?
Well, not to us. I don't know not to us. I do believe, because we don't really keep up on certain things that closely, but our son, Mike Africa Jr., he does keep up on this very, very closely. But the only thing I do know is that they did, some officials in the city, not all of them, did offer, I believe, an apology. What was it, 2024 or 23? Some of the councilwomen, I believe, who kind of got onto that. And I'm not even going to name any names because I don't want to leave anybody out or say, you know, a name that's not accurate. But I believe that there was some form of apology that was offered, I believe in 2023 or 24. But to us directly, no.
I don't even know if apology would mean a damn thing. You've lost your lives, you know, not lost your lives, but the time, you know, your youth, in that time frame. I mean, at this point, even it should be financial, but you know, that's just, that can't even bring it back. But that will help, but I can't even bring it back. I mean,
right?
It's just insane. It's just insane. But I want to say, what were you saying, Debbie? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, definitely no financial either. I mean, we had to rely on our children when we got out. We had our children, and all of our children just helped us. All four of them, they just helped us out whatever we needed. If we needed money, we stayed at our son's house. You know, we started from scratch, and and we're still working. We're over 65 years old. We can't even retire because or collect any social security or anything, let alone any monetary support. We don't even have medical insurance. And so our children, especially, you know, Mike and his family, you know, really took care of us. And our supporters, you know, a lot of our supporters that just helped out, like I said, whatever they could do, to people that offered us counseling or just offered us a spot at the college, you know, to just talk about our story. You know, it's some of the people that Louis the Messiah introduced us to, Asad Muhammad from POV. Like this is the support that we got, but not from the city or state.
It's insane. It's insane. I'm just, you know, that's insane. I want to talk about Mike Jr. because it seems like activism is in his DNA. Like, who raised him when he was taken away from you? Because whoever did, I'm saying they did a good job in addition to the DNA being inside of him. Because he was someone who steadfast, you know, did diligence to get his parents released, to get them exonerated. How do you feel about Mike Jr.? I mean, your other kids as well, but I think that there was even a documentary film that people can see as well that's on Max, and you can see it on YouTube, that tells more about your story as well. But seeing him be the champion for you both, I mean, how does that make you feel?
You want to go first?
He's a junior.
He's a junior.
Yeah.
No, hey, look, I'm definitely very, very proud of him. Really, activism it definitely seems to be a part of his DNA. because he feels, like DNA is like no choice. So
Yeah.
whether you want to look at it or not, I think that there's three things. Number one, he was born into it. He was born into it. And as any other kid that is born into Christianity, that's born into Catholicism, you pretty much take on what you were raised as. And so, although he was born into it, and this is part of he also has family in it, so that's number two. That's a very strong hold. And number three is he, what was I going to say? He gravitates to it because him doing the work to help free us was a big part of a lot of the, the mission that he felt accomplished with. And, look, I'd rather see him doing this, even though I get scared for him too, even though we did it, but you're children. So you're also afraid for him, but I'd rather see him doing this than a lot of other stuff that's out there. It's so much negativity, is so much stuff out there that he could be involved in or get into. I mean, he was young, but instead, he took this path, maybe not by his own choosing, but now that he's on that path, I'm proud of him because he's not, I feel like it's something he's doing that's purposeful. It's not nonsense.
Yeah. Well, I love my son dearly. And, Mike has a huge heart. He has a tremendous spirit. I don't want Mike to face the same things that we faced, him or his family. And
is he in social work right now? Does he do social work or does work with this?
Say it again, Ada.
Does he do social work right now? Is he involved in social work or just activism or?
I have no idea. He's involved in a lot of things.
Yeah. He's good at everything.
But his career,
good.
But his career for 30 years was like landscaping. That's that was his career that took care of his family and all that. So, but once we came home, kind of like graduated from that to, being an author, being a
movie producer.
Yeah, movie producer, and like I said, who knows what else. Now he's a filmmaker. Looks like I just saw this morning where he said something about join him in the filmmaking on Film Freeway. I said, what the heck is this? So
cool.
Yeah.
So in terms of like now, you all, are doing your thing. You said you're working. How do you all involve family in what you're doing now? Are there special family times or traditions that you come to start since you miss so much time together? Are there things that bring you together now? I know you had talked about game night or something you were telling me about.
Can you start the beginning of your question over again because it kind of faded?
Oh, you didn't hear? Okay, I was saying now that you all are acclimated back into society and you're doing your thing, you're working and everything, do you all get together as a family for special things or traditions that you're starting with the family to move forward as a family, forget the time you missed, but just now, or I know you had mentioned the game night, you get together sometimes. What are some other things that you all do now? And how's everybody doing with the family in terms of supporting you?
Well, we do. We always go to our sons just the traditional like holidays, Thanksgiving. I did create our own. I call it Grandmom's Game Day, and so for the past 3 years, on New Year's Day, I have the grandchildren, whoever wants to come. And the kids come over our apartment and we do game day. We play games and we order food. I don't do a whole lot of cooking. But yeah, we order food and and they have game day. We have a little library next door to us, and we just kind of utilize that. We decorate that a little bit, and we have games and we play. And so that's the only thing so far that I can remember. For the past 3 years, that's what we've had at my apartment.
That's nice. That's nice.
It
So
turned out nice, really good.
That's wonderful. So, in addition to filmmaking, how do you spend your times these days? I mean, how are you all like unwinding, spending time together? You look great. You know, are you feeling great? How are you all doing?
Yeah, well,
go ahead.
All
Go
right.
ahead.
No, we go to the.
I had something else, but I'm going to do after.
Go ahead.
No. In addition to that, how you're feeling, how you're doing, I wanted to go into what you're doing now in terms of the next project that you're working with, that you've entered into the festival. But go ahead.
Well, we go to work out. You know, we frequently go to walks through the park. We work out some. We go to the Y and we work out more. And
we work every day.
Yeah.
We work a traditional job every day. And hey, listen, and we've done so much in the last 7 years. It's crazy. Like, I mean, from the beginning, from learning how to work a cell phone to doing things online, which was uncomfortable for us, to ordering from them, to having, when we first joined the Scribe Video Center and had to do the film. First of all, we were thrown into it because then it was COVID. So we had to do everything virtually and we knew nothing about that. So we had to learn how to do that, learn how to do virtual visits, and with the computer technology, that was a lot. And then from that film, I learned how to drive. I learned how to drive at like 63 years old.
Good.
So yes, and Mike taught me how to drive. And I drove him crazy. This man has the patience of Job. And I'll tell you that because I was a horrible, horrible student. But I now can drive myself.
But you did it.
And I can drive myself to anywhere I need to go that's important. Hospital, doctors, work, families' houses. So anyway, I learned how to do that. We learned how to, and then we actually created another short film with, the rickety technology that we learned how to do. But we had help from Scribe Video Center, POV, Asad Muhammad, who is the Vice President of Impact and Engagement Strategy of POV. We learned how,
El
Sawyer, who is Ming Media. He's the executive producer or director, whatever. Anyway, he did his own production company, Ming Media, with films, and we made another film called It's called A New Voice, and it's about returning citizens from incarceration and the good things that they're doing in society,
and the struggles they've had to overcome in order to.
Yeah, so that's like about 16 minutes. And what else did we do? We were invited actually to the POV AMDOC, which is American Documentary Gala, back in November 2023. As a focal point, they used our film, A New Voice, as their focal point for their gala fundraiser in Brooklyn, New York, which was fantastic. They had funders there. They had people watching. They had their own. It was a wonderful, wonderful event. That really also doing all these things is also cathartic for us and therapeutic, because we get to talk and tell, and we just get to engage. Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing now. We do a lot of workouts and walking mostly. What else are we doing?
Well, the film pushes back on the narrative that people getting out are going to be menaces, rather than what they're actually doing. They're starting all law offices. They're starting all kinds of things that is an asset to society, especially so since the people who are supposed to be supporting them don't support them at all. Like they don't have any medical insurance. They've gotten out and they've started things and they're doing very well. So you don't have to be concerned about these folks, and we're pushing them back against the narrative that you do. So they've gotten out and they've done great. have done great. So we just wanted to uphold some of the ideas that we left with, and some of the people we've met over the years, and showcase how they're doing, in spite of the support they do not get.
Right. And we've also spoken at quite a few, well, some universities, Rowan University, Villanova University, Penn State Brandywine University. We've spoken at, we've traveled.
So you all available for speaking engagements? People can book you for speaking engagements.
Absolutely. We've been, we went to California to speak there, and Chicago to speak at the 50-year anniversary of the People's Law Office, that which was a big case that was won during the Birds, I think they call it the Birds case, where it was a part of Attica, I believe. But anyway, it was the 50th anniversary of the People's Law Office in Chicago, who was one of the lawyers who actually represented us in our parole hearing to bring us home. Brad Thompson, that's THOM, no P, SON, and Brett Grody of the Abolitionist Law Center in Philadelphia. They were both the lawyers on our case, who partnered with Mike Jr. to actually bring about the success of our return back into society. So we went there the 50th year, which was about 3 or 4 years ago, 4 years ago maybe. So I mean, we've been pretty active.
Well, I'm putting up your email address because you all do speaking engagements. So if you're doing speaking engagements, people need to know how to get in touch with you, so that you can do more of them. Because what you're doing, especially now, what happened to you all can happen again, especially in this environment that we're in. And so it's a very important story. It's very important. Your triumph. You're an inspiration for me just hearing you, and I know the film has brought that out in people as well, in terms of feedback that you've gotten from audience members, I'm sure. So I wanted to put that out there for you all.
Okay.
Just lastly, and we can wrap it up. What are your hopes for the future? Things that you still like to accomplish or experience from this day forth?
I take a sigh of relief and just peace, and peace is what we would like to.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, we live such a simple life now, like just going through so much that we don't look for excitement, like in certain things that people may see as exciting. I mean, just a family gathering may be good for us. We just went down our brother-in-law's, Mike's brother's house for a family gathering. He wanted us to come for Easter dinner, and so we went down there. So it was really nice, just reading some of his in-laws, and so that just really makes us feel good, and makes us feel kind of, just warmed and welcomed. So that it's just simple. But I got to think of something that I really want to do.
Well, there's been one person, particularly the early days of our incarceration, when we were really being lambasted in the press and assaulted physically. There was one person, black or white, that supported us and put his career and his life on the line to, aside from our family members, which was Mumia Abu-Jamal. And, Mumia would come into the prisons and get our side of confrontations or the incidences or whatever, as a reporter. He was just doing his job, but as a human being, he went way beyond, just doing a job. And that brother is still languishing in prison as a direct result of his support and activism for helping other people. And many, many people have come home since then, and he really needs to also.
Thank you.
So if you have any any kind of support that you could lend, any kind of letters that you could pen and send him, letting him know that, you know, his support is still strong and that people are still behind him trying to bring him home. You know, it is important that that happens.
Yeah.
And
sure.
that needs to be known. I think now we can talk after. I got some ideas, but those that are watching, if you also have ideas or support that you can offer and lend to this, please.
Yeah. Excuse me. Otherwise, we would.
Right.
You know, I am encouraging folks to, you know, if you want to be an activist, there are many ways you can lend your voice without putting yourself in harm's way. So we don't want anybody spending years in jail or, you know, being accused of harming anyone, especially when you didn't. But putting yourself in any situation where, you know, your folks are worrying about you coming home and all this kind of stuff is always, you know, a way to get your point across without putting yourself in harm's way. So, you know. And
one of those ways is through film and action vision through film, activism through film, social justice change through film. Getting in good trouble through filmmaking, getting your voice heard through film. So you all are continuing your activism through film. And I love the series, the new film that you put out, and it could actually be a YouTube series, you know, talking with formerly incarcerated individuals and their return home and what they're doing, the good things that they're doing in the community. That could be a whole series. I mean, my God. But I want to thank you all. I admire you, and I am amazed and inspired by what you have been through and coming out on this end. To look at you today, you would never know the crazy trauma that you have been through in life. So I thank you for sharing your story. I urge you to continue. And y'all up there, they need to get some more speaking engagements, and even a fund really needs to be started on your behalf, because it's insane that you have to go through with no assistance, you know, no on any degree. It's just insanity. So we hope to cure that with this. But thank you. Continue to do what you're doing and inspiring others through your experiences.
And thank you, Ada. How do you pronounce your last name? I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Babineaux.
Babineaux. Okay.
The EAUX is O in French. Louisiana girl. Louisiana people.
And thank you so much for having us, Ada. And we appreciate your time and your lifting up of us and our story. And so, yes.
Thank you very much.